All right. Good morning, everybody. This is the regular monthly open meeting of the Third Laguna Hills Mutual Board of Directors, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. Today is Tuesday, October 18th, 2022, and it's now 9 a.m. We are here in the boardroom as well as available for viewing on TV, Granicus, and Zoom. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have a quorum of directors present. And we'll now make our Pledge of Allegiance, led by Director Chris Prince. Chris?
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chris. It's now time to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda?
So
Kush moves. Can I get a second? Ralph seconds. Anybody have any changes they'd like to make to today's agenda? Anybody have any objections to approving it as it is? Seeing none, we'll consider today's agenda approved by consent. Thank you. Now we're looking to approve some meeting minutes for 5 different meetings. Let's address each of them separately. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the last board meeting held on September 20th? Ira moves.
second.
Kush seconds. Thanks. Any suggested changes to the meeting minutes for the last board meeting? Any objections to approving them as is? Seeing none, we consider them approved by consent. And now, can I get a motion to approve the minutes for the special board meeting where we picked a delegate for GRF held on September 30th? Chris moves. Kush seconds. Thank you. Any objections to them as is? Seeing none, we'll consider them approved by consent. Moving on to the third one, a motion for the minutes of the agenda prep meeting held on October 7th. Chris moves, Kush seconds. Thanks, thank you both. Keeps me from having to turn my head too much. Any objections to those meeting minutes? Okay, we'll approve those by consent. And I'm assuming in all of these, Michaela, that or Paul, that Moon will abstain, since he wasn't at any of them, except for the last one. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the special board meeting where we discussed committees held on October 7th? Thanks, Ira. Ira moves. And Jules seconds. Thanks. Any objections to those minutes? If we approve them as is? Seeing none, we'll consider them approved by consent. And finally, can I get a motion to approve the minutes for the special board meeting where we interviewed and voted on a new third board member held on October 10th? Kush moves, Jules seconds. Any objections to those? Seeing none, consider them approved by consent. Thank you. Now moving on to agenda item 5, the report of the chair. This morning, I'd like to introduce our newest third board member, Moon Yoon. Moon submitted his candidate application during the recent call for candidates. He was qualified and this past October 10th was interviewed and elected by the board to fill the open board director position recently vacated by the resignation of Director John Frankel. Moon's current term expires on October of next year, so welcome, Moon. Being that he was just voted to join the board, he's still rearranging his calendar. He's got an appointment today, so he's here on Zoom as long as he can be before he has to head off to his appointment. And also as a reminder, there's still one open third board director position. This open position is for a 3-year term expiring in October of 2025. If you're interested in possibly filling this position, please reach out to the corporate secretaries here in the community center for an application and consideration. And that's all I have for today's report of the chair. We're going to move on to agenda item 6, And we'll now have an update from the VMS Board. And the VMS Board President, Rosemarie DiLorenzo, will be providing today's update. Good morning, Rosemarie.
Good morning, Mr. President, and the members of the third board, our CEO, our staff, and our wonderful residents. We too have a new board member on VMS, a board member that was appointed by third to fill a one-year position, and her name is Mary Cito. She will not be here today because she's on vacation, but she will be joining us at our meetings in the future. This morning, I'll provide a quick update on some new events or new items to focus on better service. One of the things we're going to do, which we're excited about, is having a contractor open house. The contractor open house will be October 27th from 3 to 4 p.m. We didn't send out invitations, which we have done in the past, but it has been in a lot of news media, the Friday blast. We go over it at this meeting, so I'm hoping that there will be a very good attendance. I don't know if there'll be a line. We'll see. For those of us who are interested in coming, we are invited also. The purpose of the meeting is to help residents and the contractors to navigate through our systems better. And the team is going to share some helpful information about changes. And most importantly, they're going to listen to the comments of the residents and the contractors. And we're planning on having it be an hour, and I sort of wonder, but that's okay. We purposely had it at a time of the day, late in the day, so that a lot of work that is being done will be over. We will also have invited a City of Laguna Woods representative to this meeting because it is important for them to hear what is going on, and hopefully we can get their help to make this a better process. Another thing that I've talked about at our past meetings was having focus groups with the residents to try to improve our communication. We don't have not necessarily an extensive report, but it's more of what we're going to do next report coming from communication. The focus groups were very successful. We had one that was multilingual and one which was specific to older residents. Gosh, I feel like we're the older residents. So probably maybe a group that is not using internet or something like that. And so we went over the channels that are most used. The most important thing is we learned a lot, and we are going to have a more comprehensive approach to communication. The residents definitely want a better website. They want better translation, better communications by the boards. We're all on the boards. A master calendar for village events, which I'm not quite sure as to how we're going to get that done. Some more neighborhood and small community events. The 110s have a group. Gate 11 has a group. The Garden Villas sort of has a group, but it isn't a social group as to what's happening with Garden Villas. But they're asking for more group events where people could get to know one another. And I also think they're asking for more things like the Renaissance Fair. And I believe that we're doing something for the holidays for Christmas. But I'm not going to talk about it because I don't know all of the particulars. The other thing that we've done is yesterday we had the Employee Excellence Awards, and I have a list of the employees who received the awards, but I'm not going to read it. It was a very good event, and I just welcome them. Siobhan made a presentation, and it's very exciting to honor our employees for achieving over the mark in service to our residents. The employees are selected through various means. The department heads recommend them, but also every time we get a good comment from our residents, we pass it along to our CEO and also our human resource department. But so it's based on employee comments, supervisor comments, resident comments, and this is how the employees are selected. So they were all very pleased, and that's on the next page, all of the names. We do encourage you, our residents, to let us know if somebody has gone above and beyond what they should be doing, but also to let us know if someone isn't achieving what they should be achieving in order to have good service here. And how would they let us know, Siobhan?
They can email the general manager at generalmanager@vmsinc.org.
Okay, thank you very much, Siobhan. The next thing that's coming up on November 18th, and I know the agenda is going to go out very soon, is a new board member training or in-place board member retraining. Didn't want to say old. So we're going to have some retraining. And of course, it'll be really interesting to get, Jeff Beaumont is going to do the presentation on the trust. And he's also going to give us legislative updates where there are legislative updates constantly. So in addition to all of these things that are coming up or that have happened, we have had a few things that we generally do, and we wanted to let you know about them. At our last VMS meeting on October 5th, we had a presentation by our director, Manuel Gomez, on maintenance and construction, and he went over capital projects, as usual, manor alteration highlights, damage restoration highlights. We also had, on October 10th, a client services meeting, and in that area, we went over resident services, and that was a really excellent, long, many slides presentation. And the great thing was not only telling us about the things that are being done to improve service, but also some of the priorities for 2003. And one of the priorities is going to change the phone system, and changing the phone system, which has already been approved, so it's not going to be one of these long, drawn-out things, is going to really improve automated voice response and things like that that are very important to our communication. I didn't put a lot of slides, or we didn't put a lot of slides in here on our service order program, but our service order program has a 24% response rate, which is really good. We always want more. We have an overall average of 4.58. But the key thing on that is any rating of 3 or below has a personal contact by our staff to find out why they didn't rate us a 4 or a 5, because our goal really would be 5 or 4 or 5. So, and we have learned some good things from these callbacks, and that's really important. Like the person doesn't arrive with the right tools or things like that. So it helps us to figure out maybe better questions that we could ask so that the person could, or a staff member could get the job done in a better way. So we're constantly learning and improving. The last page for my presentation is something that happened at a KPI meeting, and we talked about employee retention. So we, very often we say things like a lot of other employees say, we want this to be the best place to work, and it's all very ambiguous. But the thing is let's focus on employee retention. What are some of the things that we could do to make the employees want to stay here? Now, some really want to stay here, and they're here 40 years, 49 years, 30. But we tend to have some turnover, like in the first year. So what can we do to make them stay here? So we're thinking about, because the focus groups are so fabulous with the residents, we're thinking about having focus groups with the employees to ask them what would make this a better place to work. We also are launching a Bright Ideas program that's going to be coming out very soon. It's been formatted, but we just have to get it out. And that should excite employees, encourage employees to bring forth their bright ideas. Oh, must be so excited, I'm talking with my hands. The other thing is, which is really very important, is the finance department worked on getting, really bidding out our health care for the employees. And we bid the health care out to try to get the best deal. Well, I think it's incredible. I wish we could be that. Their premiums are actually going to go down. Same coverage, no increase in the deductible or all the other things, sneaky things, but it's going to go down for the employees, which, what what could we list here of anything that is going down? Not, not much except what we have in our wallets. So that's very exciting. So not only are the employees going to be spending less for really good coverage, but we will be spending less, which gives us probably our pool of money where we get to address some salaries that are lower than market, where we need improvement in order for us to hire. For example, maybe in security, where we're really severely under market. So that is great. I think we're going to save close to $500,000, which is really good because that is money that we don't have to ask the boards for. If we save it, we're able to use it under the line of employees' wages and benefits. So that's a really good thing. And the person who did the presentation, we met with him twice, was like fabulous. If you had a place where you wanted to have a salesman, you would want to have this guy. He was really good. And the other thing is we also have planning underway for our next strategic plan update, but we're not sure of the date. And before we're having the training in November, and then December gets to be a lot of people take time off, holidays. So we're working on selecting a date for that. And the last thing is, at our last meeting, Catherine did a presentation on continuous service improvement, and it was excellent. Siobhan, did we get that out to the boards?
We were going to work on some implementation details and then share it.
Okay, so it was really excellent. The way she put together the second layer of continuous service improvement was really, really well done. So I think she's on vacation this week, but then we're going to plump it up a bit and get it out to the boards. But it's really an excellent program that she put together. And that is it of the things that we're doing. Does anyone have any questions?
All right. It looks like we don't have questions. Thank you for
No
a
questions.
complete
Thank you
report,
very much,
Rosemary.
and have a
Appreciate
great
it.
day.
Okay.
Move to the close.
All right, we're moving on to agenda item 7, our open forum. At this time, members may address the Board of Directors regarding items within the jurisdiction of this Board of Directors and not on the agenda. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted to the open forum to 30 minutes. Each member is asked to speak for no more than 3 minutes. A member may speak only once during the forum, and speakers may not give their time to other people. Members not in the boardroom can also share their comments by joining this meeting via Zoom or by emailing your comments to meeting@vmsinc.org to have your message read during this open forum should time permit. So, Michaela, we have any speakers today?
Yes, the only speaker we have is Chris Collins.
Good morning, Ms. Collins.
Chris Collins, 3306Q. This is an update on the work of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village on behalf of residents who are experiencing temporary financial emergency. Neighbors are like umbrellas. In many ways, neighbors are like umbrellas on a rainy day, lending a helping hand during difficult times. National Good Neighbor Day was in September, and it gave us a chance to recognize and appreciate the important role of neighbors. Being a good neighbor can help build strong relationships, prevent social isolation, enrich our cultural experiences, and ensure help in emergencies. Being a good neighbor became particularly important during the pandemic when feelings of isolation made reaching out to our neighbors more important than ever. Do you know your neighbor's name? When did you chat with them last? Getting to know your neighbors is the first step in building strong neighbor relations. Perhaps you can drop off some cookies or home-baked goodies when a new neighbor moves in near you, or it's a wonderful way to get to know your neighbors. You might also want to offer to pick up groceries for an older neighbor or one without transportation. Donating to the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village, whose motto is Neighbors Helping Neighbors, is also a good way to build neighbor relations. A foundation tribute donation to honor a neighbor's special event or to remember a neighbor who is no longer with us can celebrate the message of Good Neighbor Day. Started 25 years ago, the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village exemplifies the spirit of Good Neighbor Day. In the last 5 years, the foundation has spent over $1.2 million in the village, with nearly 99% of that money raised in the village to help our neighbors when they experience hard times. So for more information about specific programs that are helped with the foundation funds, please contact us at thefoundation@comline.com or 949-268-2246. Please also visit our website at the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's always good to hear about the work of the Laguna Woods Foundation. Thank you. And Michaela, you said that was the only one, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Great, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 9, the CEO report. Siobhan?
Thank you, Mark. Honorable President, members of the board, this morning I'm going to share some updates from our recreation department. The Halloween Hoedown is going to take place on Saturday, October 22nd from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Equestrian Center. It's a chance to enjoy music, food, and fun at a hoedown with the horses. Dance to the music of JB South and enjoy food truck fare, photo opportunities, games, trick-or-treating, and a petting zoo. Trick-or-treating at the Equestrian Center is from 4 to 5:30 p.m. Garden Center 2 will also feature a trick-or-treat maze and scarecrow contest from 3 to 5 p.m. Parking is available in the upper lot across from Broadband Services. Shuttles will be available from 3:30 to 7:30 p.m. On Monday, October 24th at Clubhouse 5 at 5 p.m., residents may join in the Oktoberfest fun and enjoy traditional fare catered by Martinez. Tickets are available in the Clubhouse 5 office and are at a cost of $25. The November Bonanza is scheduled this year for Saturday, November 5th and Sunday, November 6th at Clubhouse 4. At the Bonanza, the village's talented artists and craftspeople will present an extensive collection of works for purchase. Off-site parking and shuttle service will be available at the Laguna Woods Village Maintenance Center via Campo Verde. And lastly, buy your New Year's Eve tickets now. On Saturday, December 31st at 7:30 p.m. in the Performing Arts Center, 5 great acts will take place, and it will lead up to the ball drop at midnight. Performers include Temptation Review, Pete Barbuti, Les Arnold and Dazzle, Paul Boland and the Swing Kittens, and the New Year's Eve Gold Band. Tickets may be purchased online at tickets.lagunawoodsvillage.com or at the PAC box office Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that concludes my quick update this morning. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Siobhan? All right, looks like not. And just in time, we're now hoping to receive an update from Bart Mejia regarding solar. Good morning, Bart.
Good morning. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to you a quick update on our solar installation. As you know, we have solar panels on 12 of our 3-story buildings. That was originally installed back in mid-2017. We received approval to go into operation in June and started reporting in July of 2017. So we've had this for just a little bit over 5 years. Mutual spent approximately $2.56 million for this installation. That was fully funded by the Mutual. And so far, the system has produced approximately 6 million kilowatt hours. That translates into about $1.2 million in savings in electricity so far. It was anticipated a return on that investment to be somewhere between 11 and 12 years. We're still showing that the return on that investment is about 12 years for that original installation. So this is generating savings of about $200,000 a year. This is benefiting 427 Edison services within Third. There remain approximately 134 services that, should a new installation be approved, could benefit those remaining installations. So that's about 1/3 of the total number of services that the third mutual pays for directly. Again, looking at based on the current rates and rules and regulations, that would also have a 12-year return on investment if such an installation gets approved. I did a little more research to see if there were any funding opportunities that can help pay for these installations. And for our community, I couldn't find any yet. We don't know what's going to be in the future. Most of the incentives are designed for low-income areas and regions, and we do not qualify for that. There are other programs out there that you may want to entertain. I've looked at some of those, and they're usually not in the benefit of the owner, and that is to have a company pay for the installation fully, and we get some side benefit to that overall installation. If interested, I can look into that more and come back to you and let you know how feasible that would be. I will have to also consult with our finance department to get more financial information when it comes to something like that. It's a different venture. You've seen that advertised on TV for residential uses, where solar installers say you don't have to pay a dime to have this installation, but in essence, what you do is you give them the space to put their solar panels. They generate power, and the owner gets some benefits out of that. One of the things that I have been monitoring is what are going to be the changes at the CPUC level. Late last year, they introduced a measure where they will significantly reduce the benefits of solar installations. They name a number of reasons for doing that. That didn't go through. That measure was put on hold, and just got information that got delayed even further. They are not scheduled to render a final decision on this until August of 2023. We do not know what this final version is going to be, but for us, when we're looking at installations, and depending on how they implement this, if it is going to be retroactive, if it is going to be effective immediately, or if they can grandfather prior installations. But the anticipation is that a return on investment for something, for at least for the original language, will double the time. So if we're looking at 12 years, now we're looking at 24 years, and that is essentially the useful life of a solar installation. So the arguments that were presented is that such installations then will not make financial sense. There's always the benefit of solar installations to the environment and to the future. There's no way to really put a value to that, but there are significant benefits. What is going to be the legacy of doing these types of projects, having that minimum carbon footprint on the generation of energy? So that has a value. I believe that this community is at the forefront of providing the smallest carbon footprint in the community. We have talked about before about electric vehicles, on how the number of electric vehicles per resident is much higher than some of the surrounding communities, and all the efforts that the mutuals are doing to continue to incentivize the use of electric vehicles. And the same is true with solar. We have 2 solar installations. We just talked about the one in Third. We have one in United that it's about similar in size, and they're providing roughly the same benefits as the installation in Third. So that is all I have for today. I am available to answer any questions and to entertain any direction that you may want to give for either future installations, to research any specific items. As mentioned before, we have for the type of program that we are participating, we have 134 services that can benefit from this, which is about one-third the number of the ones that we installed originally. There are other programs that we can look into, such as the installation of batteries to store power. If we do something like that, then all of the installations that we do could benefit from that. That is getting closer to a microgrid system. Just that the current technology and the cost to install batteries is quite high. It will pretty much double the estimated cost of installation for a solar system if we include batteries in storage. That will also reduce the amount of energy that's going to go into the grid, as that will be stored in the batteries. And that power can be used to either charge vehicles or to use it for consumption at night when there's no sunlight. So with that, available to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thanks, Bart. Anybody have any questions of Bart? Ira?
Roughly how long does it take, or did it take last time, from the time you decided to search out and go through the process and get the solar installed? Was that a 3-month process? Was it a 6-month process, or 2 months, 2 days?
It was a much longer process. I do not have that information with me, as I don't have any information as to when we started talking about the initial solar installation. There were directors that strongly advocated for this installation that probably helped move this faster. But it takes more than 6 months to get something like this. Maybe goes into 1 year or more than 1 year, as you have to, again, look into those expenditures and budget the appropriate amount of funding to be able to go through the process.
So your feeling is that it's the budgetary process that slows it down more than, let's say, anything from an outside vendor or requesting estimates for installation.
That is correct. Vendors, we can get proposals in a very short period of time once we have the funding in place. We can get bids and get going with the project. It's getting through the budgetary process that will take the longest, as this will be a direct expenditure that will rely on this return on that investment based on the energy savings. Again, this is all subject to change based on whatever policy the CPUC adopts next year. If there are no changes to the current way that we do business right now, then we're still looking at a 12-year return on investment.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? So just to make sure I understood, so we have current installations. At the time those 12 buildings had solar installed, the payback was between 10 and 12 years. We're currently on track for that. If nothing changes with this new law, we can add additional solar if we come up with the money, and it would still be a 10 to 12 year payback, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, I know this board has talked about it, and will continue to talk about it. I mean, while a 10 to 12 year payback seems lengthy, we hope we'll be around many, many more years than that. And after that, it sounds like with the current installation, we'll be recovering $200,000 a year. So definitely something that we want to look at probably investing in. We'll just have to figure out how to make that happen. So thanks. One last chance for questions, comments for Bart? All right. Thank you, Bart. I appreciate the update. Yeah, good. And we're now at agenda item number 11, our consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board via one motion. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar today? Ira moves, Kush seconds. All right, do I have any issues with approving the consent calendar? Any objections to approving the 3 liens and the lien collection policy? Seeing none, consider the consent calendar approved by consent. All right, we're up to agenda item 12, unfinished business. For agenda item 12A, the board will be voting on whether or not to approve the revised architectural standard number 10 for exterior doors. This revised standard increases the variation of colors that can be used on external doors and refreshes the types of doors to be in line with up-to-date materials and state codes. The board voted last month to put this on 28-day review. So this month, the board will be voting on whether or not this should become a new architectural standard for Third. I'm not sure, Bart, if you have any opening comments. Manuel does? Okay, sorry. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Bart?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. We don't have any comments for you, but we are here available to answer any questions. The revisions that were requested by the board at the last meeting have been incorporated, and they're included in attachment 5 and attachment 6 of your agenda review.
Okay. Anybody? Let me just start. Can I get a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Okay, so Jim approves, Ira seconds. Any discussion on this? Any questions, comments for within the board or for Manuel? Do we have any member comments? Michaela? Okay. All right, so I guess then now it is time to vote. The electronic thing is not quite set up here for us today, so we're going to vote by hands. Those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I'm looking around. It looks like here in the room it's unanimous. You can follow up with Moon.
Yes, Director Yoon, can you provide your vote?
Looks like he's still on mute. There it goes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
you hear
can.
me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I raised my hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So unanimous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Eight votes yes, no votes no, no abstentions is what I count I have. Thanks, board. Appreciate that. Moving on to agenda item 13, new business. Agenda item 13A is for the board to vote on whether or not to approve a request for a supplemental appropriation of funds for Shepherd's Crook conditional use permit amendment from the city. This request was approved by the M&C committee as well as endorsed by the finance committee before coming to the full board today. We will be voting as to whether or not to put this request forward for a 28-day member review and comment. Manuel, do you have any comments, opening comments for us on this one?
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. Good morning. We've been replacing the barbed wire that's affixed to the perimeter walls around the mutual with Shepherd's Crook wrought iron fencing for the last 5 years. This current year, when we did installations over by Gate 11, there were some areas that were identified as potential risk areas where we have utility boxes adjacent to the walls, and we received some comments from residents that they felt that the new installation was too low because people could climb up on the utility box and hop over the Shepherd's Crook. And so based on that, we discussed with the city what it would take to revise the requirements of the conditional use permit that was issued to us back in 2017. And if the board wanted to pursue modifying that condition to allow Shepherd's Crook installations higher than 7 feet at certain locations where and we would work with security department or are considered to be a higher risk of security breaches, we have to process an application through the city. Their initial deposit fee for that application is $6,000. We expect that they will require us to submit structural plans to substantiate that the existing block walls can support the higher fences, and we think we can do that for about $4,000. So therefore, we're requesting or recommending that the board authorize a supplemental appropriation of $10,000 should you choose to move forward with this recommended application.
Thanks, Manuel. Before we get into discussion, I'll first ask Chris to read the resolution.
Okay. Supplemental,
Maybe we should get a motion in action and then do the discussion.
So she's going to read the resolution, then we're going to get a motion, and then we can discuss.
As Robert's rules say,
This is how I've done it so far, so you can slap my wrist later.
supplemental appropriation for CUP or conditional use permit amendment for Shepherd's Crook installations. Whereas in May 2017, the City of Laguna Woods issued CUP 1135 governing the replacement of barbed wire fencing with wrought iron Shepherd's Crook fence. And whereas the CUP limits the height of the Shepherd's Crook installation to a height of 7 feet when viewed from adjoining properties. And whereas staff recommends that the mutual authorize the submittal of an application to the City of Laguna Woods requesting that the height restriction be revised or amended to allow for the height restriction to be measured from the highest ground level on either side of the wall and allow for a height of up to 11 feet at locations where the presence of utility structures create a potential trespassing risk. Now therefore be it resolved on November 15th, 2022, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby authorizes a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $10,000 for the city application process, and resolve further that funding in the amount of $10,000 from the Replacement Reserve Fund will be used for this project, and resolve further a supplemental appropriation is authorized from the Reserve Fund in the amount of $10,000, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Now that we've had the resolution read, can I get a motion to approve this resolution before we discuss this? Chris moves. And Ralph seconds. All right. Any discussion? Jules?
I would like to ask our engineers a question.
Go ahead.
Would I be correct in assuming that in order to get over the obstacle of the Shepherd's Crook, it's necessary to actually grab a hold of and hold on to the Shepherd's Crook uprights before you get over it?
That would be one, excuse me, waiting for it to be, oh, there it is. That would be one way of, if someone wants to jump over the fence, one way to do it. As far as the design is concerned, we will be looking at, and the city will be looking at a design that will allow for a pull or a push that meets the minimum requirements per the building code. And that force that is applied to the wall will have to be factored in to make sure that the wall and the footing can support that in whichever direction that is going, similar to a wind load or a seismic load.
I'm not sure you answered the question. Maybe I didn't ask the question properly. Let me put it a different way. If it were impossible to grab hold of the uprights, would that substantially lessen the likelihood of someone going over it? In other words, if they couldn't grab hold of the upright for one reason or another, would that aid in preventing people from surmounting the crook?
So, yeah. So I can tell you that is not an engineering question. That is more the ability of someone to try to jump over the fence. I will say that will make it more difficult, and the more difficult you make it, the less the chances of jumping over the fence are going to be. So if you're thinking, and I'm going to try to think for you, let me know if I'm putting words into your mouth. Say that you put some type of screening up against or attached to the shepherd's crook that will prevent someone from grabbing hold of these bars. That will certainly make it more difficult, but it will not make it impossible.
And so if you cannot hold onto it, it would be an advantage, and it would be perhaps less expensive than redoing the entire shepherd's crook. Now, I'm not talking about what liability may arise as a result, for example, of spraying the uprights with a lubricant or something. I'm just wondering whether it would work.
If there was a way to minimize grabbing a hold of those bars, it would make it more difficult.
Thank you,
we will need to see what is it that is being proposed, to see if it requires any additional engineering as a result of that, or it could be something simple. But again, that will be something that we will need to review and also get concurrence from the city that whatever measures we take also meet their requirements.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Any other questions, comments?
Comment.
Jim?
I've kind of had a change of heart on this issue. After researching it more, the city required us to take down our barbed wire. The city did not require us to put up shepherd's crook. We're going to be spending millions of dollars putting up shepherd's crook. And I wonder what the necessity of that is. In fact, of security, have we had breaches significant enough to spend millions of dollars on shepherd's crook, which to me is much easier to climb over than barbed wire? With the city also, if we do continue on with this, because the city has told us we have to take down our barbed wire, it's set up at 300 linear feet per year, or 900 linear feet between the three mutuals. And it just seems that the city, because we are the city, should waive some of these costs. So if we do continue with this, I think we should approach the city to try and get them to waive the CUP charges for us to do this. There's other things that the city charges us for that I also think, because we are the city, we need to go to our council members and say, why are you charging us for things that are passive in nature, that you're getting money from us and we are you? So it's just a complicated issue, but from my point of view, I don't think we've had that much trouble with people coming into our community over the walls. So the least expensive would be just to take down all the barbed wire and leave it at that. And the thefts we have had of golf carts, they obviously didn't take those over the walls. But that's just my opinion. And so I think we need to first have information from security as to whether or not it's necessary to put up this shepherd's crook. And secondly, if we can get the city to waive some of these fees, because it's a lot of money and it's a lot more money for all the shepherd's crook.
And I'm just gonna, do we have someone from security here?
I'm trying to locate Eric. He was supposed to be here.
Okay,
so-
he was here for a moment. He may have got called away. So while we're waiting for security, Ira?
Well, I'll just make a comment. In my previous associations, we had something similar around a wall, mostly around a pool area, and we raised the shepherd's crook, if you will, around these areas that you could step on and over. It did absolutely nothing to deter anybody. It just gave them a significant foothold when they wanted to climb onto a roof instead of just going over. If somebody wants to get over, they're going to get over. As far as commenting on Director Cook's comments, I would be for not putting up Shepherd's Crook at the very least on the open space side of the community, since you cannot even ride a bicycle over there legally. You can't drive, you can't ride a bicycle, you can't walk your dog over there. And a breach from that side of the wall would be very unlikely, very difficult to get to. On the street side, I would not necessarily be for increasing the height, as someone would just shimmy over 10 feet to a lower section and pop over, or just go right over the top. It won't deter anybody. If they want to get over, they're going to get over. And the best deterrent we found in my previous community was a lighting system that was motion activated. The only negative about that is coyotes will activate that system, as well as raccoons and occasional skunk. But it is a deterrent for people, a big deterrent. That's all.
All right, thanks. All right, looks like Director Nunez has joined us. So we're talking about Shepherd's Crook and its value and the value of raising it. And so what are your thoughts?
Yes, Mr. President and members of the board. My thoughts are this: is Shepherd's Crook is like any other deterrent that we have. It's merely a deterrent, right? And so there are some areas that we've identified or were brought to our attention, and then we looked at that where they do have these utility boxes that are within a few feet from the wall and are almost 4 feet tall, 3.5 feet tall, where if you climb on top of those boxes, and the reports were they saw people coming into the property by standing on that and then just stepping onto the wall between the Shepherd's Crook and then jumping off to the other side, as well as egressing from the property as well. So we went out and looked at it, and I took the operations manager with me actually, and was able to say, yeah, we stood on there and said it's pretty easy, relatively easy if you're in decent shape to get over that wall. Doing that. So would the height increase eliminate that 100%? No, it won't eliminate it 100%. But will it deter somebody from possibly doing that if it's higher at that location? Yeah, it's possible. That's the whole point of deterrence, is we just make it more difficult. And whenever you target hard in any environment, you do it so that it becomes harder to penetrate that target. You can't make it 100%. If you were able to do that, if we were able to do that, then nobody would be able to get in or get out, And so I think that the Shepherd's Crook, somebody joked about it the other day. They said the good thing is that it's turned outwards and not in, and trying to keep people in. But it's true that that those deterrents are effective for some people, most people that are thinking about it. Just makes it more difficult, and they'll look for easier targets to actually try to trespass and then commit the crimes of opportunity. If those opportunities aren't there, the opportunity for somebody to use that as a stepping stool exists, and it just makes it perhaps a little bit easier for somebody to want to do that. And that's where we stand on the Shepherd's Crook.
All right, I think Jim had asked some questions about the quantity of these types of situations in the past period of time, year. How many wall breaches are you getting reports of on a monthly, yearly basis, whatever?
With this specifically, we've only had 2 reports of this happening, and and in the manner in which I described, where they step on the utility box and then step over the fence and then do the same thing coming back, or going from that spot, climbing over, and then landing on top of the utility box from where they're at. Fortunately, we don't have a ton of breaches. It takes our just so you know, because you may not know, but our security patrol officers throughout the day and night actually do a routine check of the perimeter throughout the entire establishment. It takes us about a week to 9 days to completely cover the entire perimeter. And what they're looking for are breaches. And so there are some, obviously, with still a lot of the barbed wire, concertina wire that's set up on the walls, or just some of the fences sometimes have been cut. And people are just using it to actually, probably because they're too lazy to walk, perhaps, and maybe because of some of the folks that are looking for crimes of opportunity would do something like that. So, and to create an access way. But we go around and as they find these things, they notify it on the dispatch and tell them where it's located. They tie it off with yellow tape so that it's easy for those people that are following up to repair it the next day can come in and repair it. Although there are people that breach this, or you'll see that the compressed barbed wire because somebody put something on it and pushed it down. But we notify maintenance to come out there and then fix the issue for us immediately. But it does take time. So there will be times when people will call us about a breach and say, hey, it's been like this for 2 or 3 days. And why didn't you guys notice? And then part of the reason is because we're now on this side of the perimeter. And by next week, we would have drove by and seen it too. But they do happen, and I couldn't give you an exact number. We deal with about probably anywhere between maybe 5 to 10 of these breaches in whatever fashion that they occur, a month.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anybody else have questions or comments?
Something. If I may, we are looking at breaches from outside to inside the wall. Have you thought about, or can you comment on somebody who has committed a whatever and trying to run out from inside to outside? Can you comment on that?
Yeah, well, typically, if somebody's coming in here to commit a theft or a burglary, they, whatever access point they gained entry is the point that they'll probably come back out of. And because they know it and they know it exists. So I can't comment in terms of actually knowing how many those are, unless, other than people calling in saying, hey, I just saw somebody jump over the fence for some reason.
No,
Yeah.
have you had any experience on anybody running over the fence after committing a crime? Because this is what I was made to understand, that the area that we are considering to raise, the level of the floor of mud is much higher on the inside than on the outside. And that was the reason for this even coming up as a conversation to consider. Have you had
Yeah,
any?
I think our concern is people coming from the outside in
Okay.
into the inside, and it's obvious that there are some places where the elevation is a little bit higher on one side or the other, and if it's on the inside, then it just makes it a little bit easier for them to climb over that fence, right? And because the Shepherd's Crook is actually going towards the outside, they're not really concerned with all that as they would be coming in. But we became concerned about it and aware about it just because of the fact that there were these utility boxes, as I said, they could use as launching platforms in which to elevate themselves and then make it easier for them to get from the outside to the end. And that's what we were concerned about.
Okay.
Jules?
Yeah, I don't understand your comment about it taking 9 days to get all around. What happens how many people are we talking about, and why would it take 9 days to get all around the perimeter of the property?
Well, because we have 4 square miles, just in square miles, but we have many more miles of perimeter that go in and out. And so what happens is that they aren't directed to do this all at one time because they have to handle calls for service. And we get about 30,000 calls for service a year. And so they're actually quite busy, and we've been understaffed anyways, but it takes probably a week to actually go through that because you have to actually, in some places, stop, get out of your car, and walk the path and actually inspect it, because you're not just looking for, I mean, sometimes if you can drive right past it, if you're looking at some of the way the fence is separated and then closed, and if you drove by, you would not notice. So they physically actually go by and look at every foot of that fence line and make sure that that's still, it hasn't been compromised.
Oh, so it's not 9 full days?
No.
Of full-time?
No, it's
Got
not
it.
9 full days.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Director Nunez? Okay. Any other, thank you, Director
Right.
Nunez, for the moment. Any other questions, comments? Michaela, do we have any member comments on this topic?
No member
Okay,
comments.
all right. Are we ready to vote as to whether or not to approve this resolution? I think we are. So those who are in favor of approving this resolution and approving the funding of $10,000 for this, please raise your hand. All right, I'm looking around. I see no hands raised, including my own. All right, so I think this is not passing. Okay, so I know this is not passing as I see it.
Still on?
Yeah, Moon and
He just left for his doctor's
Okay,
appointment, but he'll
okay.
be back in person shortly after.
okay, all right. So do we want to just cancel and leave it, or Jim, you made some comment about maybe doing some additional work? Should we kicking this back to the M&C committee for?
Well, excuse me, at least, as we were just told by security, there's areas where there have been breaches. So maybe instead of doing the whole perimeter of our village, or of Third's area of this, maybe we need to actually look and see, maybe take the barbed wire down, see where we have breaches, and possibly that's where we should put some shepherd's crook or some other type of deterrent. But if we have areas that there's no breaches, and the limited number of breaches we have right now, if we take down the barbed wire and see that we're getting significant breaches, then it might justify spending the money. But right now, it doesn't seem like it's justified for the effort and expense of millions of dollars. And this is just one small item of it, but we've got the process going right now, and the agreement with the city is, in essence, our mutual has to put in 300 feet each year, but we only have to put it in because we've taken down the barbed wire. And that's our choice. The city, I don't believe, is telling us we have to put up shepherd's crook. They're just saying we have to take down the barbed wire.
Okay. You have anything? Did he say it for you?
Only that it was my understanding that the city had required us to actually remove the barbed wire.
Okay. Okay.
I think that's my understanding anyway.
Okay. And I know, Jim mentioned, millions of dollars. So just to give some information about this, in Third we have about over 26,000 feet to go to replace the barbed wire with shepherd's crook at $120 current cost per foot. It's about little over $3.2 million at current cost to. And people are thinking that we can spend that money probably a little bit better.
I have a
Manuel,
comment.
you have some further comments?
Yes, President Laws and members, I just want to clarify for the board, although there isn't anyone on staff who was here when this initial conditional use permit was processed, I don't think, and the records on the discussions and even at the city are difficult to find. My understanding is the city does not require that we remove the barbed wire. they don't allow us to install any new barbed wire. And there's just a small distinction there. So I can only assume that the village at one point was interested in replacing the barbed wire because it was old, damaged, rusted, looked ugly. And the city does not allow new installations of barbed wire. And that's, I believe, what led to, well, then let's replace it with Shepherd's Crook, which is a lot more aesthetically pleasing. It lasts longer, less maintenance, and maybe somebody felt more of a deterrent than the barbed wire. But I just want to clarify for the record, and if the city was here, they probably would state they're not requiring us to remove existing barbed wire. They're just not allowing us to put in new barbed wire. It has to be something else.
Does that mean repair? Where was repair fit into no new?
Repair would be that gray area.
Okay. A little gray can work for us. Yes, Jim?
Well, from a logic point of view, though, why would there be a stipulation that we have to replace 900 linear feet within the village every year if the city wasn't requiring us to remove the barbed wire? Because they've set an amount of how much we have to do if we're removing barbed wire. So it doesn't make sense that they're not requiring us to remove the barbed wire, because otherwise they'd put no limitation on us.
Right, and my understanding is the city was not requiring the minimum 900. That was a request on the mutuals because they couldn't afford to do it all at once. The mutuals back in 2017 wanted to replace the barbed wire with Shepherd's Crook, but didn't want to do it all at once. So the mutuals requested permission from the city to replace the barbed wire with Shepherd's Crook and asked for a minimum of 900 linear feet per year for budgetary purposes. That was all driven by the mutuals, not by the city.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like we need to work a little more on this with the city, understand.
And it sounds like we were probably given some misinformation
There are a lot
or
of gray areas.
misunderstood the information we were given when this process was going on.
Could be. Yes, Jules?
Rosemary was the president of Third at the time when this issue came up. Maybe we should ask her.
Do you have any comments, Rosemary, that you'd like to share?
When we decided to put in the Shepherd's Crook, it was because we had quite a number of breaches. So that would be in very, very old security reports. We had a lot of problems in Gate 11. So that is when we started the Shepherd's Crook process. A lot of research was done into what is the best kind. You know, we didn't just pick it out of the air. What was the best kind? What was the most cost-effective, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where the Shepherd's Crook program started. Where it got, though, this is always very interesting, where it got to where it is now is always a mystery. We had to replace it in areas because the residents were very, very concerned. So we had to go in, we figured out this was the best thing, we put it in those areas. How it got to how many feet per year, et cetera, that wasn't part of what we started to do. So so that is why it happened. For you to decide what you want to do next, I think you might be concerned if the residents think that you are not concerned about their security, which of course I know that you would consider. And that's what I have. Thank you, Jules, and thank you.
Thanks.
And that's exactly my memory of it. As I recall, there was a real problem in near Corrada on Ridge Route Drive. And there was an area which was becoming a haven for, people basically making a little tent-type city and going over the fence there, which is where we, I think,
The dog
initially
park.
decided to put the the Shepherd's Crook and to clean that whole area out, which they then did. It's now very clear. You can see the wall from the road. You couldn't see the wall before. So I agree with Rosemary. That's my memory. I don't remember anything about the city telling us what we could or couldn't do at the time. So again, it's a mystery. I just don't know.
If I could add to that, and Jules is absolutely correct, they were like mattresses there, sofas there. It was like a whole community. And we had, the city wouldn't clean up the part that they're supposed to clean up. So we went and cleaned it up ourselves before we did the installation of the Shepherd's Crook. It was frightening. So that this got everybody all concerned. Where else are we going to have, these little communities sprouting up? So that's why we did it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I had also at that time suggested lubricating the wall to make it more difficult to get over.
All right. Something tells me you're going to continue bringing that up for as long as we talk about this topic.
I have one suggestion.
Okay. So, yes, Kush?
One of the suggestions that I could make is ask the city to waive the CUP fee, because
I think that's what Jim was mentioning.
Like Jim said, we are the city.
Yeah.
And we do a lot for them. So
okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to push this. I mean, this kind of is an M&C thing. So Ralph, I'm pushing this back to the M&C committee, and many of us are on that committee. So we'll work to continue to discuss it and how we want to proceed. But for today's vote, did not pass to allocate money for this at this time. Moving on to agenda item 13B, and that is to approve some updated committee appointments, specifically the changes being voted on today are a result of Director John Frankel recently retiring from third board, so filling some of his positions on some of the committees, along with the elimination of some committees that the board has decided they don't need anymore, and it'll allow them to better focus their time as well as allow staff to better focus their time. Can I get a motion to proceed with voting on these committee updates?
So moved.
Kush moves, Ira seconds. Any questions, comments, suggestions, requested changes from the board? These committee assignments? Yes, Jim?
Just one thing, in our charter for the ACSC, we have to change one word in our charter.
Okay, we'll see. At least one word. I just want to make sure that we have kind of number of members and things in the charter as well, but this isn't specifically the charter here today. So, Michaela, do we have any questions or comments from any third members
comments
on this? All right. Anybody see any reason not to approve these updated committee assignments? Looking around at the board, seeing none. So we'll consider this passed by consent. I'm assuming Moon is still out. All right. Okay, thank you. Thanks. So committee assignments have been updated. We'll now share our monthly third mutual committee reports, starting with the report of the Finance Committee. Donna, our treasurer of the third board, is on vacation today, so I've asked our treasurer ex officio, Steve Hormuth, to share today's financial status. Steve, thank you.
Hey, good morning, President Laws, members of the board. See that just a moment come up on screen. Okay, for the first slide here, I want to bring to your attention that through the reporting period for the 8 months ending August 31st, 2022, total revenue for the third bullet point down is $29 million, offset by expenses of $24.7 million for a total net revenue over expense of $4.3 million. On slide 2, you'll see that we focus a little more effort on the operating income. So here you'll see that overall we have $992,000 operating surplus as of that same period ending August 31st. And this shows how much revenue went into operations of $20.3 million, offset by full expenses of $19.4, less depreciation from an operating perspective. On slide 3, we'll take you back to the combined operating and reserve and restricted funds. And this slide here shows the actual compared to budget. And on the bottom right, you'll see that you have a favorable net revenue over expense of $3.2 million. On the next slide, we will go through and show you some of the details of what makes up that $3.2 million, starting off with outside services. The green represents a favorable variance, and this is due to the timing of some of our moisture intrusion, plumbing leaks, and stoppages. And additionally, there were delays in approvals for the contracts, specifically for roof replacements. They've had a late start. We've been sharing that information for the past few months. So the replacements actually began in April, but they are expected to complete in October. So we would anticipate by the end of October, early November, we'll have caught up on those expenses. Second on that list is employee compensation. You'll see that we are favorable at $733,000. This is mostly due to open positions, primarily in both landscape and M&C. The most heavily impacted for some time now has been our landscape positions, whereas of this period ending August 31st, there was 23 open positions, so a significant number. You will note that we have been filling those positions using outside services, so the work is still getting done, but within employee compensation alone, there's a favorable variance. Additionally, there was impacted areas of M&C were maintenance operations, damage restoration, carpentry, plumbing, and paint. Next on the list is your insurance. So you were favorable $659,000, and this is due to paying lower premiums compared to what was budgeted back early for 2022. Next on the list is legal fees, $193,000 favorable. Simply, we spent less on legal fees than what was budgeted, so mostly due to the board's involvement and limiting the number of phone calls and such going over to the legal firms. And then lastly on this list, there's an unfavorable variance with regards to utilities in the amount of $302,000. This is due to both water and electricity. Water was, the consumption overall was 3.4% higher than what was anticipated. And that was mostly due to less rainfall, the ongoing drought. Going forward, the board for 2023 has approved a reduction in irrigation water to help offset these increased expenses. And then I also point out that from an electricity perspective, you're seeing elevated expenses compared to what we budgeted. And that has a lot to do with California Edison changing some of their software. And as a result, there was a period of time where we were not receiving bills. We accrued as best as we could based upon past experience, but ultimately in 2022, when those bills did come in, they were about $100,000 higher than what we had anticipated. So you'll just continue seeing that unfavorable variance, unfortunately, for the remainder of the year to the tune of $100,000. On the next slide, so we have a pie chart. We'll go ahead and fix that formatting next month so it appears better on the screen. But we show non-assessment revenue earned to date of $1.4 million. You can see here that starting off the largest piece of the pie is charitable services. It represents 29% of your non-assessment revenues, followed by permits, fees, leasing, and all the smaller amounts of revenue that you see on the screen now. On the next slide, we'll touch on expenses. As you would expect with a service business such as ours, that the largest component is employee compensation, followed by insurance, utilities, outside services, and a number of other smaller expenses. Moving on to slide number, what is this? So, number 7, the non-operating fund balances. So this is a representation of your reserve funds, which are otherwise known as replacement funds, followed by some of your restricted funds, which you see falling to the right, the garden villa, the disaster fund, and the unappropriated. So you're currently sitting at $31.9 million, with year-to-date contributions to these funds representing $8.7 million, and expenditures, which is the offsetting amount of $5.2. So you're landing at the end of the day as of August 31st of $31.9 million. Okay, our last two slides, slide number 8, we compare the non-operating budgets to historical fund balances for the past 5 years. You can see it's been trending upward. As of August 31st, you have an ending balance of $29.4 million. Third Laguna Hills Mutual has done an excellent job and is committed to supporting the reserve requirements while providing for more contingency funds for unexpected events. Our last slide is for resales. So we have a slide here to show the resale history from 2020 through 2022. Through August 31st, third sales totaled 301, which is 8 lower than the prior year for the same period. However, the average year-to-date resale price for third mutual was $531,000, which is $71,000 higher than the prior period in the previous year. And that concludes our report.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Anybody have any questions of Steve before I let him sit down? Thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right, well, next we'll have the Architecture Control and Standards Committee. Jim?
Architectural Control Standard Committee met on September 26th of '22. During that meeting, we had 3 variance requests, 2 of which were granted, 1 which was sent back for more information to clarify distances and sizes by staff. We also looked at the development of policy for incidental work related to an approved variance. We've talked about it and decided that instead of a full policy, it might just be added into the verbiage of a variance to state that in the variance itself, so that things are not slowed down if you have to remove landscape. It's just a matter of processing it rather than going back to the board for another variance to remove landscape to put in a variance that was approved. We have future agenda items, and one of them is about asbestos abatement, which is very expensive even for small projects, such as putting in a ceiling fan. The cost before you even buy the ceiling fan is approximately $2,500 for the inspection of asbestos, the abatement of asbestos, and the air clearance after that. I understand that we do have one project in process, I guess kind of a sample project, where somebody has done this with our departments as a chargeable service, and it has already cut it down to about half that price. So it's something that we're looking into to see if we can do that as a future development. We also discussed the revised resale inspection fee schedule, also reviewing the stepping stone removal policy. And what was also brought up was that things that have been put in by one member, that we need to have a process by which maybe they don't need to be removed by the new owner, that they could continue to go on if the new owner wanted to keep that. There was some confusion by one of our members. I got an anonymous letter in my mailbox asking me to clarify what I was talking about when the standards to be revised as time permits. Just as a thing that we processed today for architectural standard number 10, where we brought it up to date, new modern materials, making it more timeless. We will go through each of those standards one by one. The member also got the wrong name. He had Art instead of Bart. And Bart Mejia is the Maintenance Construction Assistant Director. So what I said at the last meeting was that we were going to go through the standards and they would be revised to be brought up to date to current building standards, current materials, and to make them more timeless so that they don't have to be revised. And so many of them are out of date at this time. So I am working with Bart to go through these. And again, it's a time-consuming process to go through them one at a time. I hope that clarifies it so that people understand what it is we're doing. Thank you so much.
Anybody have any questions of Jim? Jules?
Yes, I'm not sure I understand what you mean by doing it internally with our own, as a service, and it only cut the cost from $2,500 to about half of that. What is it does that include the installation of the fan, or is this just the remediation?
Just the asbestos remediation. And Ira might have more information on that because he's talked to Ian about it.
So what's going on is they're piloting a program for different types of asbestos removal. It could be inside, it could be outside, and trying their best to experiment, because it takes a lot of different people to get one job done. And so going through, it isn't just removing the asbestos, it's with different services. You have a carpenter doing one thing and you have a painter doing another thing, and so on and so forth. And to get them scheduled sequentially, the one project that I worked with Ian on was an outside project to remove a post in an outside area. And as Jim said, $2,500 just for the testing, and in this case, the estimated price for the entire project would be $1,200, and which is a significant savings for everybody, because before it'd be $2,500 plus the project, and so this is hopefully will work out for both our maintenance and construction people as well as the homeowners. But this is still a fact-finding process. The other thing I can tell you that maintenance and construction is keeping a record of what areas have asbestos and what areas don't, to help them further along, possibly not having to test if they have enough information to go forth. That would be the ideal, because each of these projects here, or each of the mutuals within Third Mutual, were built at different times with different materials under different minimum codes and so on. And some have asbestos in the mud, in the drywall internally, and some don't. And some have it in the stucco, some don't. So hopefully, moving forward, this program will expand and just get better and hopefully cheaper for the people in the community. But it's just going to take a little time and to get a little bit of experience under everybody's belt in different areas. So that's kind of what's going on.
So we will use our people to do basically a bag and glove in cleaning out, but does that still require us to go get an air sampling test afterwards?
At this point in time with the project, this first project, MNC has taken it upon themselves to include the cost of all the asbestos testing. They've done it gratis for the homeowner, which was a nice thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
And the way that they cut the costs, like, say, the air clearance, if they have an air clearance third party come out, maybe they do a half a dozen instead of one. So it's at a discounted rate per unit.
Sounds good stuff.
I have a comment more than a question. When I moved here in 2016, we had our split units installed. Doing that, we had to do 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 or 4 cutouts in the wall, maybe 2 inches or 2.5 inches wide, according to the air conditioning contractor. At that time, they took a separate check from me for $450, which included cutting the hole, bagging the debris, and having it tested and sending me the report, and also sending the mud, whatever, to the approved landfill wherever it can go. I don't understand why suddenly, 6 years now, this process has become so complicated and so expensive. Hang on, that it's getting out of control. People are even worried to put a lamp in the ceiling or a fan in the ceiling. So what changed?
State law.
How bad?
Very bad. They set all the requirements, and the AQMD set all these requirements. And so these have all come about more recently. And the fact that your building was built later, you have less problems than the buildings that were built at the beginning. because you have less asbestos.
But there was some limitation that if it's less than so many square feet or something, then we don't have to go through anything.
Yeah, and that was back that many years ago.
But now too, isn't it? That it's less than so many.
It's a lesser cost, or it's a lesser amount for what you have to process, but you still have to go through the process of where's the asbestos, abatement of the asbestos, and air clearance.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that we are talking about this so people understand, but it has changed a lot. I mean, 6 years has made a night and day difference. Yeah.
Okay. Jules?
When we did that, it cost us, when we put in our mini split even later, it cost us peanuts to do the whole thing. And then I called because we had this brilliant idea of cutting out a small section to put something, I forget what it was. And the first thing I did was to call a company that does and they like eight-tupled the cost. Instead of $100 or $200, his minimum fee, he said, was $1,200 even before he came in the front door. And I don't know whether that was because of state rules or because they just thought they could get away with it. But the costs just exploded. So what they're doing is terrific.
I applaud you, but it's the problem that we have to overcome. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe after work.
So the only comment I can make about the state laws, it was geared more towards complete renovations rather than spot additions. And they just kind of missed the boat on people adding a fan, changing lighting, or something like that, where the reduction or removal was extremely minimal. They didn't make enough allowances within the law for either the testing or disposal or any part of this minimalist change. Everything appears to be geared for, basically gutting your home and reconfiguring it. And that's what you do in an older home generally. If it's 50 or 60 years old, you move in, you remove all the walls, you reconfigure the layout, and that's where you could absorb these higher costs. But just a little upgrade, like a fan or lighting, is very problematic, and hopefully the state will come to their senses and put some kind of program together to reduce costs for the average person that just wants to make a little upgrade.
Great, thanks. All right. And thanks, Ira. You can keep your microphone on. We're going to next hear from you about the third landscape committee.
Okay, well, I'll keep it a little bit shorter than Jim, as we had. We haven't met since September 1st, and we had a cancellation due to a conflict with one of our meetings here. But what we did talk about, what we did approve, that previous meeting was the urban forestry program, as United did as well. And this will analyze every tree in our community, decide when its useful life has ended so we don't have problems with a tree in its failing years, and knowing what to replace it with, when to replace it. And this will account for, as I said, every single tree in the community. They're doing it with a company called Dudek, which does this kind of work for cities, many cities in the surrounding areas in Southern California, in conjunction with our current tree pruning contractor, Great Scott. They're working together, and hopefully this will be done over the next approximately 8 months. It's going to take that long to put this together. There will be some community outreach with these programs to tell people what the end result of the program is, and just to be informative. So I'm happy with that. Other than that, our committee will be working on analyzing our current charter and manual, or the landscape manual, in hopes to bring it up to date and make it more relevant for everybody and simplify a few things. And our next meeting will be November 3rd here in the boardroom at 9:30 in the morning.
Great, thanks. Questions for Ira? Comments for Ira? All right. Third Maintenance and Construction Committee, Ralph?
Thank you. The last M&C meeting was held on September 12th, and I think those activities were reported to the board last month pretty much covered. But I want to bring a little bit update on some of the activities. Some of our attention has been directed toward specific problems brought by members in the Garden Villa and some of the other three-story buildings. For instance, the badly corroded and sometimes non-operable recreation room windows and occasional water intrusion from that source, elimination of at least reduction of safety hazards, such as adequate year-round lighting of common areas, which, by the way, should be completed before we change back to standard time if it's not done yet. We're also addressing some of the water leakage into the garage areas located beneath the Garden Villa buildings. There are several possible paths being considered. This is kind of a complicated problem because we can't really see what's in between the floor of the first level and the ceiling of the garage level. So we're trying to get plans, at least see what's supposed to be there. And then we can begin to attack some of the things, a number of ideas that we're working on. In the meantime, we're looking to minimize the hazard and any inconvenience to people using that garage area. We're also addressing a couple other issues which I see as potential safety problems. This next third M&C committee meeting is presently scheduled for Monday, November 7, 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom and also via Zoom.
Great, thanks. Questions for Ralph? All right, thanks, Ralph. I'll talk a little bit about the next three committees. First, the Garden Villa Rec Room Subcommittee. That committee last met on May 26th, so it's been a while. This committee is now planning on meeting on November 3rd, Thursday at 1:30 here in the boardroom, where we will review the status of the 2022 rec room projects and start considering the plans for how to spend the available budget in 2023. Regarding the Water Conservation Committee, this committee, which currently meets quarterly, last met on July 28th and will next meet on Thursday, October 27th in the Elm Room, which is here on this floor, and they'll talk water conservation. And finally, we have the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee. This committee last met on Tuesday, September 28th, where we discussed the overall compliance processes, talked about some of the letters that go out, when the letters go out, those types of things, as well as some resolutions that we might want to revise. And this committee will next meet 1 week from today, Tuesday, October 25th, here in the boardroom at 9:30 a.m. We plan to discuss and hopefully finalize some changes to the rules for board meetings. That's an existing policy that we felt needed a bit of revision. And we will start requesting changes on some of the compliance processes to help make them more clear and kinder for our members. Any questions of me on any of those committees? All right, that's it for agenda item 14. We'll now move on to agenda item 15, which is our monthly GRF committee report updates. And we'll start with a report of the Community Activities Committee. That's you, Kush.
Thank you, President Klaus. Recreation is the heartbeat of our community, and if one likes to have fun, this is the committee to be part of and to enjoy and participate. The last meeting was on October 13th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. At this time, I am going to talk about the dashboard, and Siobhan, you did cover many of these items, but I just like to highlight a couple of them. The Village Bazaar will be held on Saturday, October 22nd at the Clubhouse 5, beginning at 10 a.m. The Halloween hoedown was also spoken of. It is at the Equestrian Center at 4 p.m. And the Thanksgiving buffet is at Clubhouse 5. And there's a Monday movie, Spencer, at the Performing Arts Center at 2 p.m. The more important thing that I wanted to cover today was the Laguna Woods Village artists will be showcasing at the Clubhouse 4. There's lots of, this is the Arts and Crafts Bonanza. And if you have never had a chance to go to visit that, I strongly recommend. There's so much talent in the village, it's amazing. And the last thing that I want to talk about, which we already did talk about, that's the hoedown at the Equestrian Center on Saturday, October 22nd. We did cover on January 1st is a holiday for the VMS staff. However, an exception was granted to the Saddleback and other churches, village churches, to hold the Sunday service for a fee. Our next meeting will be held on November 10th at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions for Kush? All right. Next, we'll move on with Jim to tell us about the GRF Media and Communications Committee.
Okay, the Media and Communications Committee met yesterday. One of the things discussed was that the Globe did not cover the elections and the different directors that were appointed as well as they normally do. And it's because the Globe staff is also having staffing problems. And it's not a matter of we don't dictate what they publish, but they do publish in accordance with us and that. But again, it's just a staffing problem, and that's why it didn't get done this time. As far as other items discussed, the docent tours are going great. Website traffic remains strong. The Broadband Ad Hoc Committee is meeting, and they met yesterday, several meetings. The Website Ad Hoc Committee, because everybody wants to see the website approved. The VMS focus groups that were discussed at the beginning of this meeting are going on. We had a broadband service report, and again, we're having the broadband people are continuing to sometimes go up to the higher levels, new members coming in. We only have 500 units not using internet, and of those 500 units, possibly many of those are vacant. So our usage for internet is becoming more and more village-wide. Also discussed the fact that people are streaming more and more. COVID caused people to start streaming more and more, which was already on an upturn, but it really pushed it to be even more of a process, and it is moving towards much more streaming than cable TV. And that's about it. For the
Any media and communication
media and
questions?
communications, and sometimes people get confused because Media and Communications Committee, they get it confused. So it's an MNCC, and the maintenance and construction is MNC. So oftentimes people get confused because we use the nomenclature.
Okay. Any questions about media and communications for Jim? All right. GRF Landscape Committee, Ivra?
Yes, there weren't any major changes proposed or talked about at the GRF Landscape Committee. We did have a presentation on the creek maintenance and the technical involvement that's necessary to keep the creek clean, the timing of it. It is an intensive process, with regards to biologists and soil analysis and limitations through fish and game as far as times of the year you can clean up. So everybody thinks it's really simple, go in there with a bulldozer and just do it, but unfortunately not. And it does take quite a bit of time and quite a bit of planning, and in certain times of the year, we're prohibited from cleaning up primarily the cattails that clog up the creek. And this will be an ongoing issue for probably forever. But it was an interesting presentation going a little bit more into depth of the ins and outs of getting it done. And the next meeting will be on December 14th here in the boardroom at 1:30 in the afternoon.
Okay, thanks. I'm looking around to see if anybody has questions. I do. There's a small creek that goes through part of Gate 11. Do you know, being either on your third landscape committee or GRF, has that ever been discussed as to what they do about cleaning that up, or does it need to be cleaned up or anything?
You're the first one that's brought it up.
Okay, all right.
So I can inquire with head of landscaping about that.
Okay.
And get back to you.
Just curious. Yeah, if it's looked at for mosquitoes periodically, that kind of thing. So there is some standing water.
I know there is a lot of water that comes into, or some water that comes into Gate 11, and it does appear to be a little creek or river, but I'm thinking that MNC is trying to mitigate some of the underground water with a French drain. I'm not sure how far along that project is. Maybe Ralph has a little bit more information on that, and that might eliminate that standing water in that area.
Yeah, I mean, there's actual creek. That water is always coming from somewhere. I don't think it's the Brasco area that you were referring to. This is something a little different. So,
okay.
Yeah, stop by sometime. I'll show it to you.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Right, thanks. GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee?
Okay.
What's new with them, Rob?
Thank you once again. The GRF MNC Committee met last Wednesday, October 12th. Before I get into some of the notes I have here, let me address that little creek problem. I think the creek runs primarily alongside of some of our property. And there is a little tiny lake in there, Barbara's Lake, I think it's called. And we just found out recently we do have property that is lakefront property. City just told us that. The other thing is the groundwater problem that is seeping through a good deal of the Gate 11 area. Far as I know, that the plan for redesigning that and putting the French drain and so forth was supposed to be due here just, I think, this last month. I'm not sure how that is coming along at the moment. I haven't touched on it, but the design is coming. The next phase would be going out and getting bids for the contract work. As far as some of the other things going on, the evaporative, these are things that were addressed at the meeting last week. The evaporative air conditioning system, also known as swamp coolers, for obvious reasons, for the shuffleboard and archery areas at Building 1 have been, or will be, if they haven't been made operative, pending any decision in the CH1 overall picture, that those buildings have been set aside temporarily. There was additional discussion also regarding Building E replacement, likely with about a 6,400 square foot building or 6,500, something like that. That's still going. The Equestrian Center has got new plastic pallets, which will provide more durable service than the wood pallets. Hay barn covering questions are still being evaluated regarding both rain and sun protection. There's also been some talk about upgrading the fencing and gates at the that's a hard word to pronounce, Equestrian Center, as was lighting, which is also being reevaluated. Though the clubhouse renovation as a separate committee has been pulled out. Let me hit a couple of points on that right now. And there's been no formal meeting of the clubhouse renovation subcommittee recently, but there was several weeks ago a design team from 27 Diamonds, who is our contractor for the design. They came and met with several of us, and they will be working on the decor part, not construction. They're stylists. There's 3 ladies that came, and we toured with them also, not only Clubhouse 1 area, but also Clubhouse 2 to kind of see what had been done there. And we also visited the restrooms at the PAC. I probably should explain that a little bit. We've expanded our contract with 27 Diamonds to include those restrooms. It wasn't that any of the others were out of working or anything, but anyway, let me go on. Recently, 27 Diamonds has requested we reduce our number of contacts from the village to facilitate coordination. Consequently, 1 representative each from GRF United and Third, and probably the towers as well, and also 1 or 2 VMF staff reps were appointed to a special reduced team. Director Kushbata, who's got nothing else to do, agreed to be our representative on that. And there is a meeting tomorrow at their design center, and they want to show us some of the design ideas they got going and kind of an initial see of their facility as well. The next formal GRF M&C committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, December 14th, 9:30 a.m. in the boardroom and on Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that update. Looking around for questions, seeing none. What's new with the GRF Strategic Planning Committee, Ira?
The results of the internal committee survey were shown to everyone at the last meeting, and discussion ensued with regards to the answers, which were quite varied. And hopefully this will all be taken into account and distilled down to a general formation of a plan of action presented to the committee next time is basically what's going on.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Kush?
Sure. Thank you. The last meeting was held on October 5th at 1:30 p.m. Ridership is higher than previous months. The department presented a fleet right sizing assessment. What that means is that the number of vehicles is appropriate for the number of employees working in the work center. Identify opportunity to educate opportunity to reduce the number of vehicles in the fleet. Identify the opportunity to change vehicles class where it makes sense. So what it means is instead of using a F450, you use an F250 or a Ranger, depending upon the needs. Identify opportunity to repurpose vehicles, pool vehicles, and share vehicles across the work center. So that's a great feature that the department is doing, and with that we may save, as they mentioned, close to $500,000, which would be very important for us. At this time, I want to talk about the SCAG, the presentation that we had also. This is a Laguna Woods mobility technology plan, and I'm going to read this small thing to you. Under the project leadership of the Southern California Association of Governance, which is SCAG, as part of the Sustainable Communities Program, the City of Laguna Woods is working to create a mobility technology plan The mobility technology plan will define strategies with actionable steps to potentially establish new mobility service capabilities for individuals, businesses, and visitors through technology implementation, such as connected and automated vehicles. The overall goal of the mobility technology plan is to harness innovative technology to support lifelong mobility for seniors and persons with disabilities, including removing barriers to access and maintaining the dignity and independence. You can hang on to that slide for a moment. Independence of all persons. The final deliverables will apply directly to Laguna Woods, but also provide valuable information for other jurisdictions seeking to specifically consider the needs of seniors and persons with disabilities in the next gen transportation planning. The consulting firm is IBI Group, has been selected through a competitive process to support the development of the mobility technology plan. So with that, since we have moved a little bit, as you see, study was needed, project work plan, evolving mobility landscape, and the discussion that came through, it shows that since we are a senior community with people who need help with mobility and people with disability, this will be a great boon to support our transportation system and service that we provide. Next slide. So this will help us define the strategies with actionable steps to establish new mobility service capability through technology implementation. This way, next slide please. This will need a community engagement strategy. There is a form that can be filled out. I have one here that I will pass down to the staff that they can publish and let the people have. Lot of different people. There are a lot of different agencies also involved in this. As you see, AgeWell, Braille Institute, OCTA, and the Alzheimer's of Orange County. So, next slide, please. As you know, and I don't need to say this, the world is changing, the type of mobility is changing. It's going to be possible for people to move from one place to another just by making an instant call and through your phone apps, and so which is a great advantage to people with disabilities, especially and for seniors. And I know and feel this very important because I myself would need could take advantage of this a lot because of my vision issues and my other developing mobility problems. So I think this is a great thing come at the right time. Next slide, please. So imagine the possibilities as it says, consideration of range of delivery scheme and technology platform for Laguna Woods. It's an on-demand micro-transit. As you notice this little image over here, it shows smaller buses, autonomous shuttles, connected vehicles. So autonomous means you see the center picture in the second line, you can just get into it. It self-drives itself from one place to another. So this is awesome. And the personal mobility on demand, which would be like a taxi or Uber or something that can be or the lift service that we have. Next slide, please. So we need your input, as it says. The unmet mobility demands can be achieved through focus groups. There's a form that can be filled out, and you can be part of this project. So thank you, and with that, I will answer any questions if you have.
Go ahead, Ira.
On the self-driving vehicles, would they be called to a bus stop or your home through an app on your phone? How close are we to doing something like that?
There is no real action just now on it, meaning it's still in the planning stage. It's still in this category of going to happen. So, but these are the thoughts that people have, that it will come to your house. If somebody is blind, they can't be walking to a bus stop. So if you set it up, give your exact coordinates or whatever it would be, it will come to where you are.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah, it sounds really exciting.
Yeah, sounds quite interesting.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Jules, you have a question?
No, it wasn't a question, it was a comment. There are several cities right now which are experimenting, and they have these services actually working. So, it's way off the drafting board and onto the street. I think it's great.
I think so too, yeah.
Thanks. All right. Okay. And Jim, tell us about the Disaster Preparedness Task Force, if you would.
Okay, we met on.
After we're talking about autonomous vehicles.
Wait, last met on September 27th. Items of discussion were the check of the radio communications. Want to announce to people that there are emergency supplies for sale downstairs in the disaster preparedness office. And correct me if I'm wrong, Saban, we are having the Great Shakeout Plan Thursday, October 20th.
That's correct.
And just wanted to make sure that was correct information. Rick Copes was introduced as the emergency coordinator for the towers. Ed Green was introduced as our emergency service coordinator. And we are looking at the Community Emergency Response Team CERT because we want to develop a common terminology with the other agencies that are around here in case of a disaster. The way you can go find out more information about that is go to community.fema.gov or go to fema.gov and you can learn about the emergency response. That's about it. Our next meeting will be on November 29th at 9:30 a.m. in the boardroom.
Okay, thanks. Anybody have any disaster preparedness questions for Jim? Seeing none, I'll move on to a couple things. Regarding the Laguna Woods Village traffic hearings, this committee is made up of representatives of United, GRF, Third, and Mutual 50, otherwise known as the Towers. And they meet monthly to hear any traffic-related cases that violators wish to contest. In September, this hearing board met to hear 10 cases, and they did that successfully. And this hearing body will next meet tomorrow to review any new cases that violators wish to contest. So that's just a little something. Next, I'll talk about the Information Technology Advisory Committee. This committee, also known as ITAC, currently meets monthly and is last met on Friday, September 30th. This committee is currently providing executive oversight to the ERP project. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. So the name doesn't really mean what it is. It's effectively, once fully implemented, going to be the automated tool used by staff, boards, members, residents to manage most of the day-to-day activities needed to run and operate the village. The delivery team, we have a consultant delivery team. They're a little bit behind where they were planning to be at this time, but we all, as an oversight committee, realize that the more time we spend up front to really understand the needs and better plan for the remaining phases, the more quickly and smoothly the later phases will proceed. So the team is currently getting ready to start delivering some prototypes, which are functionality that the finance team, which is the initial phase of this project, finance team will be able to actually look at, see, touch, feel, and get a feel for how this is going to work, make sure their requirements are fully understood and met. And the ITAC team will next meet on Friday, October 28th to review the project status and confirm that everything continues to proceed appropriately. And finally, the following GRF committees have not met since the last third board meeting on September 20th. The GRF Finance Committee last met on August 17th, and their next meeting is tomorrow, October 19th at 1:30 here in the boardroom. The Security and Community Access Committee last met on August 22nd, and their next meeting is planned for October 31st at 1:30 here in the boardroom. The Purchasing Ad Hoc Committee last met on April 7th, and the next meeting has not yet been scheduled. So I'll be checking with GRF to see if that's a committee we want to keep in place or not, since they haven't met for a while. The Clubhouse Renovation Ad Hoc Committee last met on June 24th, and their next meeting also has not been scheduled. The Insurance Ad Hoc Committee last met on July 25th, and the next meeting has not yet been scheduled, but I'm hoping that one is scheduled soon, now that United has re-upped their yearly property insurance. The intent is to get United and Third together to start having some joint discussions about how they can collectively reduce their property insurance costs. And the Website Ad Hoc Committee last met on September 7th, and the next meeting has not yet been scheduled. But they're kind of waiting. They've sent out a request for proposal to several vendors to help rewrite our website, and we're waiting for those to be received before the next meeting happens there. So that's it for GRF committees. Any final questions on them from any of the board members? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to agenda item 16, which is future agenda items. We currently have nothing on the list to discuss at a future board meeting. Are there any items anybody would like to bring up to add at this time to future agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We're now at agenda item 17, director's comments. So I'm going to kind of start my left. Jules, you have any further comments for the day?
Yes, I do. I couldn't help but notice that when Cush referred to you before, Mark, he referred to you as President Laws. And I just wanted to point out that one of the major gripes against the prior board was the fact that everybody was considered in a very formal way, president so-and-so and director this and that. And so, the point is that I think the community has shown, particularly in the last election and the recall, that they really wanted people to be more personal. In other words, there shouldn't be a hierarchy. We're just neighbors who get together to do the best we can. And I go out of my way to correct people when they call me Director Zalin. My name is Jules, your name is Cush, and his name, as exalted as his responsible role is Mark. And we really should just go out of our way. I'd love it if Siobhan would refer to all of us by our first names as well, because it really does tell the community that we're no different. We're just doing what they asked us to do. But otherwise, there's nothing special about us. And that is my comment. Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Can I respond to Jules?
Thanks, Jules.
Jules?
You can respond when it comes to your time.
All right.
Ira, any further comments?
No further comments today. Thank
All
you.
right, Jim?
No comments.
All right, Ralph?
No comment.
Okay. Chris?
No comment.
Okay, Cush.
Oh, thank you. It came really quick. Jules, thank you for that. I stand corrected, but I have been on the board for the last 5, probably 6 years now. So to change habits is not easy. So I will try to follow that if so needed. But I like to refer to you sometimes in a formal way too. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, thank you. No further comments.
Yeah. And I noticed it too when you called me President Laws, and I figured it was just, yes,
Yes.
old habits. die
Old
hard.
habits die hard
That's
type
right.
of thing.
That's
yeah.
right. And Siobhan, any comments? No, thank you. Okay, Michaela?
No comments.
Okay, and no one, and Moon's not back on Zoom or anything?
No, not yet.
Okay, great. I have nothing further to add as well. So the business for our open meeting is completed. It's now 11:40 in the morning. We will recess for 35 minutes. Should give you time to get some lunch and chat a little bit, and we'll start our executive session at 12:15. So thanks everybody who participated, and thanks for listening, those of you watching on TV and out here in the audience. Thank you very much.
What's that?
Can I deliver these to somebody for dessert upstairs? They were props from a movie that is being...
Goodbye.